Hey, welcome back to the Victors Podcast. So, in my last video, I went over Don Brown and everything that's wrong with him and needs to change. And now, let's go over Jim Harbaugh. So, this is a loss that he could not afford. Going into year 6, you were 500 at the time over MSU, which isn't great. You were obviously 0-5 versus Ohio State, probably going to go into 0-6. It's almost completely likely that he goes on to 0-6. You are 48-18, I believe, 48-19. You couldn't afford this loss, man. Like, you had aspirations to finally beat Ohio State with Joe Milton this year. You had aspirations to be one of the best teams in the Big Ten with our running back room and all the returning seniors on defense. And we did lose Vincent Gray, we did lose Ambry Thomas, but we thought people could step up in the right places. And it just didn't happen. And I get, us just getting destroyed by Ohio State at the end of the season again this year. But to be let down so early in the season to a team that, let's be honest, they didn't look great in that loss to Rutgers. I give them props, all props for winning this game. Mel Tucker coached up a great game. Their receiver unit looked like one of the best in the Big Ten. But come on, no one predicted Michigan State's going to win. Probably some diehard Michigan State fans who saw some great things in their team last week probably predicted that, but no one predicted this. This is one of the big upsets, and it's one thing to lose to a really good Michigan State team coming in that was supposed to do great things, but for a team that's supposedly in its rebuilding year and just lost to Rutgers, this is just one of the biggest blows you could have. People are calling it one of the worst loss of his era, and that's probably true. And one of my big problems about the argument of who is better than Harbaugh, who can Michigan bring in that's better than Harbaugh, and I get it. Our last two coaches weren't great. We suffered some huge, humiliating seasons, and a lot of people haven't recovered from that. But come on, you're the University of Michigan. You pay this man $7 to $8 million a year, okay? You pay this coach $7 to $8 million a year. You are the University of Michigan, supposedly one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and you can't get a coach who coaches your team better than 8-5 or 9-3 or 10-2 or 10-3, and that's just ridiculous to me. What do you mean? Who else are we going to find that's better than Jim Harbaugh? There are a lot of different coaches that look, as of right now, that look better than Jim Harbaugh. Some people that I would really like to see who've been brought up, and I can't list a bunch of names that are better than Jim Harbaugh, a bunch of coaches on the rise. Maybe I should go have a video going in depth of that, of coaches who are on the rise that Michigan should get. But off the top of my head, Brent Venables, defensive coordinator from Clemson, our defensive struggles as of recent years, probably happening 2018, 2017 we had a pretty solid defense, but as of 2018 and the last recent years, our defensive struggles, we could become just defense domination university. Brent Venables is a terrific coach at Clemson. Luke Fickell, comes to mind for a lot of people, and it really gets annoying to me when people try to say, oh, he's an Ohio State guy, he's an Ohio guy, he would never come coach for Michigan. Listen, there has been some great Michigan coaches who have come from Ohio State. It's plain and simple. Bo, he came from Ohio State. He was literally under Woody as a coach, and he went to Michigan. He hates Ohio State. One of our best coaches in Michigan history came from Ohio State. So it's not that big of a assumption to make. Oh my gosh, he's never going to come to Michigan because he coached for a few years at Ohio State, one interim year head coach, and now he coaches at Cincy, and he's built up a terrific program. I think right now they're ranked number 6 in the country, and rightfully so. They're a great team. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh isn't the only good coach who can take your team to 10-3. Why is Ryan Day just so good? Why is he such an offensive mastermind? And how is he coaching better than Jim Harbaugh? Because Jim Harbaugh could never get someone like that. Well, they could. That's the thing. They can get someone like that. They can get a good coach like that, but we're just so scared into submission of just keeping him for as long as we can, and that's the thing around Michigan. It's kind of like going back to our quarterbacks. We don't want to go to the next big guy because we're scared of maybe accidentally making a mistake. And finally with Joe Milton, we've seen them take a chance, and on Joe Milton, we kind of ragged on him, and listen, you can't ask him. It's his second start in his career, and he threw over 50 passes. I think he was 33 for 51. and he did make some bad mistakes, but the coaching staff made a lot of bad mistakes. Josh Gaddis, the play calling this game wasn't the best, and Josh Gaddis, I hope a lot of people don't get really mad at him because he's still trying to figure some things out, and he's put together a pretty good offense, but mostly it was Michigan State played good defense. Antoine Simmons played good defense, but it was mostly our defense who couldn't stop Michigan State. And oh my gosh, like I said, Don Brown, his inability to switch it up is just ridiculous. His inability to just not be stubborn, just to change it up. And you know what? I have heard from a source, actually someone commented on my channel, they said in 2016 Don Brown played mostly zones with that terrific defense. And I don't know if that's entirely true, and if it is entirely true, and he just decided to go to an all-blitz scheme, and it isn't working, then that is completely ridiculous, and he needs to get out of here right now. And like I said, I don't know if it's true, it's probably not true. A lot of you guys are probably going to come in the comments and say, no, he played mostly blitz, blah, 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 man coverage schemes, blah, blah, but if it is true, then that just makes it even worse for him. That makes his case even worse, and he just needs to get out of here. Back to Harbaugh. I'm thinking after 2022, like a lot of people have been saying, oh, just wait for J.J. McCarthy, oh, he's a 5-star. Shea Patterson was a 5-star. He didn't pan out. J.J. McCarthy, he might not be what happens if J.J. McCarthy comes in and Michigan extends Harbaugh's contract for 5 years? It turns out J.J. McCarthy isn't the answer, and he's a dud. What happens now? We're stuck with him, and Michigan is a very, I would say, rich, wealthier school, but the buyout for a 5-year contract for Jim Harbaugh would be huge, and I'm pretty sure before COVID they increased his salary already, so they'd most likely increase his extension, and if that's the case, then I don't know what to tell you, Michigan fans. Then we're stuck with him for another 5 years. He's not I don't like hating on him because of the things he's done for the program, but at the other hand, he can't take us to the next level. 2016 was his best opportunity, but the juggernauts behind Ohio State and the inability for his defensive coordinator to make any changes is just ridiculous. And he's not showing any signs of firing Don Brown. He loves him to death. He'll never do that. Jim Harbaugh takes it easy on people way too much, and he's not going to take us to the next level. And people have known this for years, but that's the thing. We can't do anything about it because Michigan stoners are just giving away so much money, and they're not demanding anything. What I want to see is one of Michigan's biggest owners step up to the plate and say, listen, this is what Jim Harbaugh needs to do. If you want us to keep donating tens of millions of dollars to your university or tens to hundreds, you need to make these changes right now. You need to, because like I said last video, it comes down to a common sense thing, even with Don Brown. I don't even want to get into it. If you want to know my entire thoughts on Don Brown, you can watch the last video. This video is about Jim Harbaugh. He's a great coach. Overrated. The team's overrated. I want to finish in the top 15. I don't care about the top 15. I don't care about the top 25. I just want to beat Ohio State and not lose to a Michigan State team that just lost to Rutgers and it looked terrible. They looked bad. Lombardi didn't look that bad, but overall as a team, they did not look good. They did not look sound. It doesn't look like a team that's supposed to walk into you at home in the big house and beat you when you supposedly have a really good Michigan team. Michigan State does not look like that team. Penn State, on the other hand, or Ohio State, maybe they look like that team, but not Michigan State, and that's what makes it even worse. Completely props to Michigan State. Won that game fair and square. They did a great job. There was questionable calls, but in every game there's questionable calls. You guys outplayed us the entire game. Ricky White, just amazing, and I'm just tired of the embarrassment. It's embarrassing because Michigan State wasn't supposed to be that good, and they're not supposed to be able to do this to us. And oh my gosh, it's why do we submit this? Why do we submit ourselves to this every year? Because we know this is gonna happen. Until Harbaugh or Don Brown, something happens with Don Brown especially, nothing's really gonna change. We just do this to ourselves over and over. We overrate ourselves, overhype ourselves as Michigan fans, and then we get called out by the national media, and then we get all mad, and it's what do you expect? What do we expect? I'm kind of calling myself out right now. We know that we knew this is gonna happen, and we just don't want to admit it. till something happens to Don Brown or Jim, I don't know. Like, I'll be excited for games, and I hope that we win, obviously. But, like, it's like I just don't want to put myself in the position where I have to be let down again and just embarrassed. Like, this loss was embarrassing. That's like Mel Tucker outcoached Jim Harbaugh in his 6th year. The guy who's been to his Super Bowl. Mel Tucker, the guy who just came off a 5-7 year at Colorado, and who didn't really do anything special. And maybe Mel Tucker will turn out to be a very good college football coach. But from right now, as we see it, he really isn't. He made some great adjustments, but it doesn't look like he's like one of the best in college football, or James Franklin or Ryan Day or Urban Meyer, where he can just come and do something like that to you. And it's not like they necessarily whooped us. We just kind of subdued to them. Our defensive line and our defense just let them do whatever they want. So Jim Harbaugh, man, get something together. Like, if you end the season and we win the rest of our games, we beat Ohio State, go to the Big Ten Championship, then obviously anything that I say now doesn't matter, and I'll be forever grateful. But as of right now, get your stuff together. Do something with Don Brown. I don't care what it is. Fire him, demote him, something. Make someone else, make him a co-defensive coordinator. I don't care. But get your stuff together, or like Michigan fans will be calling for absolutely no contract extension come the end of the 2021 season. This is the Victors Podcast. I'm Jeremy Brown, and as always, go Blue.